Hello and welcome to Football Khanage here. I'm your boy Mo. I'm here with a great panel. And this is Eurostar, your weekly European show on Football Khanage. Of course, Grizz is not here, but I'm here with the brilliant panel with Sani, that sports guy, Sam, of course, Man City, and Michael Griggs, all about Man United and also European football, of course. So, how's everybody today? Great couple of days of football, lots of goals, and lots of clean sheets as well. So, which is very, very strange to me that it's all ended in clean sheets. Sani, how are you feeling today, my man?
Yeah, I'm feeling absolutely great. Great bit of football, like you said, in the European side. Yesterday was fantastic. So was today as well. Some good games, and I can't wait to get into it. But before we begin, obviously, everyone that's joining in, make sure you smash a like. And obviously, if you haven't done so, subscribe to Football Carnage as well.
Yeah, 100%. Sam, how is everything with you? Brilliant win yesterday. Couple of a foot and a body probably in the semi-final after yesterday, not only one foot. So, how is everything going with you?
Yeah, really good. I was lucky enough to go last night, so the place was bouncing. It was an incredible performance, and hopefully we keep this momentum going now in the rest of the season. But yeah, it's been a good couple of days in terms of European football. Intriguing, couple of ties really nicely balanced going into the next legs.
100%. So people are asking about Grizz. Grizz is in the mosque. It's the last 10 days of Ramadan, guys. So happy Ramadan for everybody celebrating. I'm subbing in for him. Of course, it's morning here for me in America. And at night, I'll go to the mosque as well. So, Mike, how's everything with you? Man United tomorrow play Sevilla. Are you frozen, Mike?
I think I'm good now.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm good now.
Can you hear us, Mike? Are you asleep?
Yeah, I can
Are
hear
you
you.
awake? Okay.
No, I can hear you. Because you asked if I was frozen or not, so that's why I panicked. But now I'm good, man. Good 2 days of football. Tomorrow, obviously, Europa League. My favorite European competition because that's where the real football is. Goals galore, everything. You guys know the vibes, but nah. Good 2 days of football and obviously more to come tomorrow. And excited to talk about all the games because, like Mo said, a lot of clean sheets, but it wasn't nil clean sheets. There were goals involved, so obviously more to talk about with that.
100%. Of course, people want to talk about the Bellingham story, but we're not here to talk about the Bellingham story. We'll leave that to the Football Carnage people, of course, and Grizz to talk about it. But today we'll start with one team, to be honest. It's the game today, of course. We start with Real Madrid and Chelsea. Real Madrid dominated Chelsea, even though I thought Chelsea had a chance to sneak a couple of goals in the first 5 minutes, which was very impressive from Frank Lampard. I'm going to share the lineup because that lineup of Chelsea, this is my opinion, personal opinion. I think this lineup of Chelsea, if they had a good striker, that would have been really, really good, to be honest. That would have been really, really good. But again, it didn't happen from them. And if you look at this lineup from Chelsea, imagine a top striker instead of Sterling. I think this is a top-notch lineup. I'm going to go with Sani first and say, what did you think about the lineup of Chelsea? They have all the big guns in. Even Sterling is supposedly a great forward for them. So they started really well, but they didn't. But the lineup is great. It's the best they can do.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. When everyone was going into this game, they were thinking, is Lampard going to play 4 at the back or 5 at the back? As soon as you saw the 5 at the back, I was like, okay, cool. Then I saw the midfield. And on Football Carnage a couple of days ago, I said, ideally, if you are Chelsea right now, the best midfield I think you could pick is Kante, Enzo Fernandez and Kovacic, and that's exactly what he done. And then up front, it's a selection, really. Sterling probably goes in because he's probably the most prolific striker or forward that Chelsea have over the course of, their entirety of their career. And then Felix, probably you have to play him just because of what he offers. But the lineup was good, Mo. I agree with you. The lineup was good. The first 5 minutes, they were looking good. But like you said, if they had a clinical striker, things could have been different. But one thing I will say before you go on to Michael and Sam as well, is that they did lack a certain midfielder that could control the game. Now, I know obviously Jorginho went to Arsenal, but they did miss someone when they were getting pressurised, when Real Madrid were on top of them, just to get out that press, hold on to the ball. They did miss that. But you're right, Mo. Great lineup, and it's a shame that it didn't really work out for them in this game.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I was watching this, and I want to go to Sam and look at this Real Madrid lineup, full of experience, but also full of youth. full of youth like the Camavingas, the Valverdes, the Rodrigos, the Vini, but also mixed in with the experience, of course. Sam, it's just this lineup, because you're in the same side of the draw, you're looking at this lineup and you think, you scared or you just show respect, or who's going to be favorites? Because I think you're in the driving seat at Real Madrid as well. So who's favorite?
What if both teams get through now?
Yeah.
Who's favourite in the semis? I think probably just going off the experience for Real Madrid. I think if you go, 11 versus 11, I think it's very even. It's very hard to separate that Real Madrid 11 there. You've got in front the blend of experience and, like you say, youth in the right areas as well. Pace out wide, Valverde with some extra athleticism in the midfield. Tchouaméni possibly to come in. I'm not sure on his fitness situation at the moment. But yeah, it's strong. It's super athletic, technically good, loads of experience. It's hard to find a weakness in that Real Madrid team, and I think Chelsea found that out tonight. Because, like you said, the Chelsea team on paper, whether it's got enough confidence and is coached well enough to get through this tie, it doesn't look like it at the moment. But on paper, that's a very good 11. It's good balance. Midfield's good. Nice combination of profiles. Back five is impressive really individually. They're just not quite clicking as a unit, and they probably were. Well, I thought they would come up short tonight against Madrid, and it's going to be a big ask to turn it around in the next leg as well.
Yeah, people in the chat, please hit that like button for us. Let's get the likes up. Let's get a good percentage. It looks like this. It's underneath your live chat. It's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. Michael, this Chelsea team, if they had a better coach, do you think they could have done something better today? Watching the game, yes, Madrid dominated, but Chelsea, they were dangerous. Every time they had the ball and they were driving at this Real Madrid backline, they were dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of simple. If Chelsea beat Madrid's first line of press, they were through on goal pretty much, because that was the game plan. But they didn't do it as often because they kept giving away the ball. But I do agree with the coach, I kind of thought about it. Honestly, for me, there was no point in sacking Potter if you're going to go with Frank Lampard against Chelsea. You could Potter and just him at the end of the season while looking for a manager.
Mike, your internet is cutting out. Is that only for me or is that for everybody, guys?
I've got the issue as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Am I good now?
Daleki.
Yeah, it's better now.
All right, my bad. As I was saying, they probably shouldn't have sacked Potter, and they should have persisted with him for the rest of the season and just gotten a pre-agreement with another coach. Sani, you remember what we did with LVG and Jose. LVG stuck out the rest of the season, but we all knew Jose was coming in at some point. I think they should have done that, because if Graham Potter, for me, would have had a better game plan for me against the Real Madrid, because I just think he's a better coach than Frank Lampard. No disrespect to Frank Lampard. And it's that simple for me. But Chelsea were okay. I mean, Felix should be scoring, should at least get that shot on target in that goal against Courtois. He should have done better. But Joao Felix, for me, the more I watch him, I was a big advocate of him coming to United in January. I've done a complete 360. That guy makes me frustrated to watch him, because his IQ in the final third might be in single digits. He does not pass the ball. He just shoots on sight, and it gets blocked by defenders. Mason Mount did for me more in 10 minutes than Joao Felix did for the first 75, however long he played.
Where do we go from here for Chelsea? If this is done, they have a good squad. You look at the likes of Mason Mount coming off the bench. They have Chalobah off the bench as well. Kukurea off the bench. Mudryk. I think they have a stacked squad, but they just need a good coach. And I know we're talking about Chelsea when we're not giving Real Madrid props. We're going to talk about Real Madrid, but I just want to start with Chelsea, because how can you spend that much money and not sign a striker? And all you end up with is Aubameyang. How's that even possible? Like, you win all that in the market, and you didn't think, maybe I need a number 9. Maybe I need a number 9. I don't know who wants to take this, but maybe Sam wants to take this because they signed a number 9. Chelsea didn't go for a number 9. What were they thinking? I don't understand. And do they need a number 9 next year? Is that their first priority next year?
I think it probably is, yeah. But I think where Chelsea maybe, you could say, maybe slightly behind the curve, is that a lot of the better teams last season in Europe were playing without a number 9. Liverpool played without a number 9 for last few seasons. City were playing without a number 9. Maybe Chelsea thought they could do the same, whether Havertz and then João Felix could get them what they needed this season. But it's clear that they're not functioning as a team collectively to be able to make that system work, because all the other pieces have got to come together. And they haven't got a Haaland or a Harry Kane or a top number 9 who can kind of bail them out of games where maybe things aren't going as well. And I think the couple of chances they did miss in the first half, first 20 minutes, is kind of indicative of that, really. Sterling, as I know all too well, missing a good chance in a Champions League game. He's got great stats, and he will deliver if given enough chances. But if he's only given 1 or 2 during a game, he's not the most clinical to make the most of that at this sort of, high pressure, high level Champions League knockout stage, really. So yeah, I think they're gonna have to go out and sign number 9 this year, 100%.
And Sani, Real Madrid controlled. Modric, still 28, absolutely fantastic. He has 10 years in him, probably still Modric. Toni Kroos, 27, still has 10 years to play football. I'm looking at this Real Madrid team and I'm thinking, they don't age. They're great. They're brilliant. Benzema, he's like the best poacher I've seen lately. Like, it's unbelievable. He pops up in the right time, in the right place every single minute. So, do they have any weaknesses, this Real Madrid team?
They have one weakness. When they play that high line, if you can get behind them, they are susceptible. I mean, we did see that in the first 10 minutes. Chelsea got in behind twice, and I was like, okay, cool. This might be the game for Chelsea here. If they can get in behind them, they've got a very, very good chance. Because the problem with, let's say, Camavinga, for example, he's very, very good as a left back, and he's done well for Real Madrid. But if you come up against someone who's crafty like Sterling, and he got him in a yellow card in the first 7 minutes, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, Chelsea should really attack this guy. Carvajal, I think he's good to an extent, but there's a reason why Real Madrid look at signing a right back this summer, because he has clearly got the legs as an issue. I think another issue for Real Madrid as well is if their plan A doesn't work, then the question is on the wings, for example, you have Vinicius one side, who's great threat, but Rodrigo, I don't know. I'm still unconvinced by him. I think he did turn up in some big games last season, but I don't know if this season he will provide enough balance for Real Madrid, because if we saw the first half especially, Chilwell was I think Chilwell played quite a good game up until the point he got sent off. He was bombing up that side, he was getting past a lot of players, and a lot of the reasons because Rodrigo isn't very good defensively, and Carvajal, I don't think he's got the legs anymore. So I think if I'm City and on the other side looking to attack Real Madrid in the next couple of games, I'm looking for that left side 1,000,000%.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking at this Real Madrid side and I'm thinking, they aren't that great, Michael. I'm looking at them, and Chelsea was so weak. Chelsea, sometime they were able to cut through them. How do you see this Real Madrid team going forward? How many players do they need? Where do they need replacement? Can they afford to go in the market and get central midfielder, right back? They need a left back because Mendy is not cutting it, and they're playing a central midfielder there. You need a right winger. They need a replacement for Benzema. Basically, they need 5-6 players. Where do you think it goes from here for this Real Madrid team, especially that the reports are Ancelotti's leaving, they're looking for a new coach. So how do you see this Real Madrid team going forward?
I do agree that they need a lot of players. I'm hoping that they do have money, because they had about 400, 500 million to throw at Mbappe in terms of the total package. So I'm sure the money's there somewhere. They're just not going to have to give it to Mbappe and give it to a bunch of players. But I don't know if Florentino Perez wants to do that. But I do agree. They need a right back. I don't think Camavinga's long-term future is at left back. I think he's a midfielder. That's his natural position. The backup number 9 needs to be signed. Just forwards, because they haven't signed a forward since like Hazard, like a a forward that actually plays professional football. They keep signing these young kids from Brazil. Like, they're not ready yet. The last one I think is like Hazard and Jovic, and we also saw how Jovic fared at Real Madrid. That was one of the flops. So they need to go find another one, because Mariano Diaz cannot be Benzema's backup 9 at Real Madrid. This is Real Madrid we're talking about, the institution of institutions. We cannot have Mariano Diaz. This guy is not good enough to play at Bournemouth, for example, let alone Real Madrid. So they're going to have to find it in the market. I expect Florentino Perez to do that, but every summer they keep saying this, Galacticos, and they just never spend. So will this be the summer? Who knows? But they have to, because Barcelona are pushing away in the league. So I'm sure Real Madrid are gonna kind of want to get that back. Obviously, Champions League, they'll always be there because the experience is there. But the league, I'm sure they want to get some kind of leverage back in that. And if they don't, Barcelona will pull away in that. So I expect a big summer from Don Flo and Real Madrid.
Yeah, 120 people here, guys. Get the likes up. Guys, it's free. It's underneath your live chat. It doesn't cost you a penny. It looks like this. If you don't know, it's thumbs up. So make sure it's highlighted on your YouTube, on your phone, or your laptop, or wherever you're watching this. Last thing about Real Madrid and Chelsea is there a way back? That's what I want to know from anybody. Everybody. Start with Michael again. Is there a way back for Chelsea in this game? Listen, last year they were 3-0 up at some point. So is there a way back for Chelsea?
If they had a better coach, I'd say yes. 2-0 isn't the biggest lead at going to the bridge. But if Thomas Tuchel was still there, for example, because he made the comeback last year from the 2-goal deficit to force it to extra time, and they probably could have won if it wasn't for that Alonso handball. So if they had a better coach, yes. But now, no. Chilwell's, I just don't trust Frank Lampard. These players also don't look like they want to play. Reece James was horrific today. Like, if that was Trent, people would be having different conversations. Like, they cooked Trent for that. Reece James was on the floor every 2 minutes against Vinicius. Fofana was on the island, so I don't think Chelsea have any fight in them. I think it's kind of like Liverpool. They want the summer to come, and half of these players probably have their futures planned out already at different clubs, and half of them are probably going to have to fight for their positions because I'm sure Todd Bowley's going to try to spend another 400 mil to fix this mess that he already started.
Sam, any way back for this Chelsea team? Any hope that you'll give the Chelsea fans?
Logically, no. Looking at everything on paper and everything we just said, but this competition is really, really strange sometimes, and momentum is king. And you can guarantee that if Chelsea get a goal in the first 15-20 minutes at Stamford Bridge in the return leg, anything can happen from there. And sometimes coaching and tactics and everything just goes out the window occasionally in these Champions League games, and you get these crazy turnarounds. And we've seen bigger turnarounds than this. I mean, it's 2-0. It's not a 3-0 we've seen Liverpool do, or it's not like a case of they're going to the new camp like they did 10 or so years ago and won with 10 men with an equally poor manager in charge of Dimiter at that point. So who knows with this Chelsea team and the Champions League overall, but logically you would say it's going to be really difficult to get this leg turned around, even at home.
Sani, is this Real Madrid team favorites to win this Champions League, or they are still behind City in the talk?
It's hard, isn't it? Because Real Madrid have the experience, but the way Man City are playing, it just seems like it's there. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I say to a lot of Man United fans as well, it is inevitable that Manchester City will win the Champions League at some stage. It's not a case of, they'll never do it. It's just a case of when. And I think this year probably is the most likely year that I think over the last couple of seasons. And that's why I would put them favourites. But last season, no one thought Real Madrid would have went on the run they did. They ran the gauntlet. They had, what was it, PSG. Then they faced Chelsea. Then they faced City. And in those games, in those ties as well, they were behind in some stages as well. I mean, against Man City, if it wasn't for that last minute, absolute ridiculous comeback, then they weren't in the Champions League final. So never write off Real Madrid. They have something in this competition. I don't know if it's Judge or whatever it is, but they have some sort of connection with this trophy. So listen, I say Man City are favourites, but Real Madrid just far behind. And if that's the semi-final that we're going to have, I can't wait for that rematch from last season.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a good segue to Man City yesterday. Again, it's Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich created chances, if I'm not mistaken. I watched an extended highlights, of course. I was on the other side watching the other game. But Sam, I'm going to start with you again. Yesterday, it looks like a comprehensive win. You're most likely in the semi-final, even though Thomas Tuchel still believes that his team can make something happen. I don't believe Thomas Tuchel that he actually believes that there's something going to happen. He should focus on the league. Your team yesterday, in the first half, you gave the ball to Bayern Munich, which is something that we're not accustomed to in the Etihad, that Man City give the ball to the opposition, say, you can have the ball. It's okay. We'll hit you on the counter. We'll press you when the right moments. How did you see the game yesterday? Did you see a change in terms of like the approach? The lineup was exactly the same other than Bernardo Mahrez, but the approach to the game, was it different than what you normally expect from Man City at home?
I think City always do go out to try and dominate the ball and dominate possession. I think we always aim to do that. I think the first half possession was fairly equal. I think Bayern just edged it, about 52%, I think, when I looked at half-time. But one thing that I think Pep has changed with City this year is that and I think what he's been working towards this whole season up until now, this point where I think it's finally clicked, is that we are now comfortable out of possession and being on the back foot and suffering in games and ties against quality teams in this competition where you just have to accept sometimes you're not going to have the ball. The Bayern team that played last night in the front three and the pace they've got with Musiala behind, it's a quality team. And actually, like I say, Bayern overall in the game, especially the first half, didn't actually play that well. City just played really, really well. I think the level of defending 1v1, I said it to a lot of people after the game, was some of the best I've seen collectively from the back four. Every defender to a man was unbelievably 1v1. And they knew they had to be because Bayern have got that pace where they're going to isolate you. At this stage in the competition, you're going to be 1v1 a lot against players like Sane or Coman or Vinicius. It's going to happen. There's no way around it at this level. So the way that Ake and Akanji defended those wide positions, especially 1v1, and Diaz and Stones when they had to as well, it was excellent. I think that's maybe the tweak that Pep has made, where the whole back four is basically four out-and-out defenders, really. In previous years, we've had a Cancelo or Zinchenko, and in possession, it's been fantastic, and we can dominate games. But last year at home to Real Madrid in the knockouts, we played fantastic. We won 4-3, conceded 3 goals. Zinchenko, and I think it was Fernandinho was right back for that game that night with the players we had out injured. So yeah, that could be the difference. He's got a balance of a team that is comfortable in possession, but also comfortable on the back foot, who can actually defend their box and defend 1v1, but also have a goal threat up front. And De Bruyne and Alvarez and Haaland can all be allowed to cause chaos without leaving us too exposed. And I think that's the balance that he's found in the last few weeks.
And Mike, looking at this Man City team, I'm watching this City team and I say they are very direct. They are not sideways football. In the beginning of the season, I thought they were out of ideas sometimes. They are trying so hard to get Haaland involved, but now it's flawless. They don't need to do anything. He's involved. He is an assist and a goal yesterday, involved in everything that happened on the pitch yesterday. Is that peaking at the right time for Man City for you? Now this is their time now. You're peaking now. They're going to go for the 3 competitions that they're in. And you think that this is the right combination he found, Pep Guardiola?
Yeah, I think, honestly, this isn't the best Man City I've ever seen. I still think 17, 18, 18, 19 is the best Man City I've ever seen. But this is the one that's built to win the Champions League the best because it's the most pragmatic, which is what you typically need to win the Champions League. You need to be very solid off the ball, like Sam said. I think Thierry Henry said it in the post-game conference on CBS Sports yesterday. In order to win the Champions League, you need to be the best team off the ball. And Man City yesterday, they didn't beat Bayern Munich because they were so good on the ball. It's because off the ball, they made them suffocate. Upamecano, for example, had no passing options, so he just kept kicking it along, or he kept passing it back to his goalkeeper. And that's what Man City did. They made him suffocate. Like Sam said, the 1v1 defending. Ake had Kingsley Coman on Rikers Island. He was getting locked up. Coman, who's typically one of the better 1v1 dribblers in world football off the wing, he couldn't do anything. Musiala couldn't do anything. His head was down the whole game because he had no options. And that's what Man City did. And then they also have someone that they haven't had in previous years. They have Erling Haaland with one touch, one bang. It's a goal automatically. And even yesterday, it wasn't even about his scoring. The nice assist he had to Bernardo. He had good link-up play. So like Mo, you said, Pep has found the perfect balance. And this Man City is frightening because I genuinely think they could do the treble. And if the first leg, for example, in the UCL semifinal is at the Bernabeu and not at the Etihad, I actually pick Man City to beat Real Madrid. I think if Real Madrid, the first leg is at the Bernabeu, I actually think Man City can get a result there. And the second leg at the Etihad, they'll do better, as opposed to last year where it was Etihad first and then they had to go to the Bernabeu, because Man City typically, where they've crumbled in the past, is the second leg away from home. That's where the UCL heritage thing for them kicks in, where they can't do it. But we saw, 1920, where they had to go to the Bernabeu first leg. They beat Madrid there, and then the second leg, they handled the business at Etihad. So I think that's the path for them. And they just look unstoppable, man. Even John Stones is playing DM better than any DM on the planet that's not named Roger right now. He's an incredible footballer. This guy he's not even a center back. He's just a footballer. He's just world class, one of the best on the planet. And Roger, weak foot finish, they're just so good. And I hate that I have to say that because I don't like them, but when I watch them, I'm like, just wow. You just memorize sometimes watching the way they play football. So props to Pep, honestly.
This comment is saying Rodri physically bullied Musiala. I didn't watch the game. Sani, you can comment on this. I don't know. The Musiala looked like he was okay. Like from the tweets, and I was following the tweets and stuff. He looked okay. Even Pep Guardiola said that he couldn't deal with him at the first half at all, finding the pockets between the midfield and the defense. Was that something that Jamal Musiala said? Did he show the levels that we're expecting from him?
Yes and no. He was finding himself in good pockets of space, but a lot of the times he was getting dispossessed, which is what I think that comment's referring to. Rodri was tackling him a lot. I mean, I know Sam mentioned it earlier, but Ake was fantastic. He didn't give even the likes of Koeman an opportunity to ISO him and go past him. And I think that was the case with Musiala, because everyone was expecting Musiala to just go past 3-4 players very easily, but he found it quite hard. And I'm really surprised that Thomas Muller didn't actually play this game. I thought he was going to start this game in the 10. And when I didn't see his name on the team sheet, I was very, very surprised. But there's a reason why a lot of people, especially on social media, were saying this is the worst game they've ever seen from Musiala, because he didn't really create a lot. He didn't skip past the players that we normally see. And even then, I'm surprised they didn't even try putting him out wide and, give him a go there. But other than Leroy Sané, that attack for Bayern just wasn't really working. They didn't really look like they had any intent. I mean, I know we've seen recently that Sané and Mane had a bit of a bust up in the change room, I think it was. So that goes to show the turmoil that's happening at Bayern Munich. But yeah, Musiala, he's still young, so it was a good learning game for him, because he's only going to get better and realize that, in these games, you need to be a little bit more cuter, and maybe something like Thomas Muller might be able to teach him and ingrain into him going into the next season for Bayern Munich.
So talk about the reports about Sani and Mane going at it, of course, after the final whistle. Something that you don't want to hear, something that you don't want to see, and it's reported everywhere that they're falling apart in the back, in the dressing room between the players. Goretzka is not happy. Of course, we know that Manuel Neuer is not happy. To be honest, Bayern Munich, they made a mistake firing Nagelsmann at this point of the season. Thomas Tuchel, I think I'm not sure about you guys. Anybody can answer me, guys, in the chat. If you guys think that Thomas Tuchel is a top coach because he won the Champions League with Chelsea, I'm not sure. I don't rate Thomas Tuchel that high. I don't think we talked about it before. And yesterday, yes, he had a good plan and everything, but I thought that he left a lot of space for the City players. Watching just the highlights, I saw that every City player had a lot of space sometimes. They didn't win any one-on-one duels, which is something comes to the coaching and tell the players where to be and what to do and having space like this. I'm not sure what happens with Bayern Munich from now. If they don't win the league and they get out of the Champions League, and what happens to Thomas Tuchel? Do they stick with him? Do they not stick with him? I know they just hired him, but Bayern Munich is all about trophies. The Bayern Munich I grew up with is just about trophies. And if players already hitting each other in the dressing room, what does that tell you about the coaching and everything that is going behind the scene? Sam, do you want to take this on?
Yeah, I just think it's really early. I think he's only been in the job, 10 days, I think. And yesterday was just a product of a coach having a team for 10 days and, a coach like Pep having a team for 7 years. I think Tuchel is a more proven coach than Nagelsmann at this stage. Whether it was the right decision not to swap at this point in the season, unsure. I think there was quite a lot of stuff going on in the background of Nagelsmann as well, which wasn't working for Bayern. So I think going into next season, they'll be stronger having Thomas Tuchel there, someone who's done a lot of good work with several different clubs already, and obviously won the Champions League with Chelsea. Not a great Chelsea side either. So I feel like he can make Bayern a much harder team to beat once he's had a bit more of a period of coaching with their squad under his belt. I think he is probably quite keen to revert back to maybe a different formation, one that he used more at Chelsea. I don't think that's an option really with this Bayern team in this short space of time. So maybe we'll see a tweak there going forward. But yeah, I think he's more proven than Nagelsmann overall. Whether this was the right time to do it, only probably time will tell as they go on to the rest of the season. But yeah, I think they got knocked out of the cup last week as well. And now they're really fighting Dortmund in the league. So yeah, if they do go out at the Etihad at the Allianz next Wednesday, I think it is, then yeah, just be the league to fight for. And yeah, for Bayern, that's a very poor season for their standards.
For the standards, yes, it's very, very poor season. Mike, Bayern Munich, they came to this game like favorites. People said that Bayern have the heritage. Do you think Man City just passed this heritage thing, beating Bayern Munich 3-0? Like they have this now in the back. They're not going to think about heritage and stuff. They just think about themselves because every Man City fan you talk to, they're talking about heritage. We cannot beat heritage. But now you're beating Bayern Munich 3-0. I'm expecting them to go to the Allianz Arena and actually beat Bayern there. And do you think if that happens, go ahead.
Oh, with the heritage thing, I mean, I think they've somewhat passed it. It's just now they have to defeat the final boss. They've beaten most of the bosses. They haven't beat Liverpool yet. They've only matched them up against once, and then obviously the final boss, the hardest one to beat. Even though they beat them before, but this Real Madrid is much better than the one that they played in 1920. But I just think Man City is weird with the heritage thing because honestly, they deserve to go to the final, and they probably should have won if Pep didn't overthink it in the UCL final against Chelsea. They probably already won the UCL, so I don't think with heritage is them. I just think it's sometimes overthinking it, which has been their downfall. But in terms of Bayern, what they're stuck in between two heads, right? They went with Nagelsmann with the young route, right? The new era, trying to start a rebuild, but they also trying to hold on to their old morals and everything. So they're stuck in between two heads. And for me, honestly, they just need to rip everything apart and start over. Whether that's Thomas Tuchel or a different young manager, probably should stick with Thomas Tuchel since you just fired the best young German manager that's available right now, and Julian Nagelsmann. And these older players, Manuel Neuer has way too much say. This guy's throwing hissy fits because his goalkeeping coach got sacked or something like that, and he's complaining about the manager. Goretzka, I don't know why he's complaining. This guy is not even a good player. He's very overrated. I thought Scott McTominay hit from the ball too much. I watched it on Goretzka yesterday. This guy was a striker instead of being in the midfield to go pick up the ball from Upamecano. Thomas Muller is a good player. They have young players. They just need to rebuild everything. The board, Oliver Kahn, Brazo, because one of my best friends is a Bayern fan. And this board is just they don't know. They don't have a vision right now. That's the thing that Bayern lack. And most top clubs, especially a club like Bayern, you expect them to have a vision. They especially for them, they've been known to be one of the best teams in the transfer market. Always have a plan. Always go after top players. But you see with Sadio Mane, they went for him in the summer, and now there's rumors from Pletigo that his contract might get terminated very soon by the summer. So and that was their level of replacement. So they let their best striker go, one of the best players of all time, for Sadio Mane, and he's not even gonna last a year. That's not something you expect from Bayern Munich of all clubs. So I think Bayern need to kind of rip everything apart and start new, or otherwise, obviously they'll still dominate the Bundesliga because it's the Bundesliga. But in terms of Europe, other than a lockdown, the UCL that they won at lockdown, they haven't really done much to Champions League since that treble in 2012. They've always gotten knocked out in the quarterfinal or the semifinal. It's not like they made other finals before.
No, they won the Champions League, Bayern Munich.
No, I'm saying, but by the lockdown one where it was like single leg, obviously,
okay.
It's still credit to that. But other than that, other years, like last year, losing to Villarreal, that's not expected from Bayern Munich. That's a disgrace. At least Man City are our top European club, one of the three best on the planet. Villarreal, while Unai Emery, credit to him, that's not expected from Bayern Munich. So I just think, and who did they get knocked out the year before? Was it PSG in the quarterfinals? Yeah. That was a disgrace as well. So for me, they've lost some of they've lost themselves in what they're trying to vision, and they need to kind of figure out quick. Otherwise, other teams in Europe will pass them in terms of Champions League. In terms of they're not going to look at Bayern Munich as Bayern Munich anymore.
Sonny, anything about Bayern Munich in the league with Dortmund chasing them? Now they are most likely out of the Champions League, to be honest. Let's just be honest. They're not going to come back from that 3-goal deficit. In the league, I want to talk about the league a little bit. Bayern Munich in the league, they're not as dominant as before, are they? They're not.
I think there's a few reasons. I mean, one, teams just haven't really faded this season. If we look at the table, for example, they've drawn 7 times this season, which is the big reason why Dortmund are still in this title race. And if you have a look at their fixtures remaining as well, the game that I think it's going to come down to, the league-wise anyway, is Bayern versus Leipzig, which I think is the penultimate game of the season in the Bundesliga. Now, to think that that's the second last game of the season for Bayern, and they could still be in the title race, because currently, I think Dortmund are only 2 points off Bayern. So it's still there or there in the makings. Now, obviously, we know Dortmund got knocked out in the cup as well as Bayern. And obviously, Bayern lost to Freiburg. They just eked past Freiburg on the weekend 1-0, thanks to, I think, De Ligt scored. So the thing with the league is it's not out of sight for them. And you're right, Mo, if they do exit to Manchester City midweek, which is looking likely at this point, then what they got for this season to show for it? And it's poor, because why they sacked Nagelsmann to begin with was a surprise. But here we are, they've done it. And to think that they might not even somehow win the league, I still think they'll win the league, but to think that Bayern Munich, normally a team that dominates the league, and it's always, it gets to like less than 10 games and it's like, oh, you've got a 5-6 point lead. They're only 2 points ahead of Dortmund now. So things are going to get interesting. And like I said, I think that's penultimate game of the season. Bayern Leipzig is the one to watch for many people. That is where I think this league will be decided in Germany.
I think if Bayern Munich don't win the league, they're going to regret sacking Nagelsmann.
I agree.
Because they're the Champions League, they're out of the cup, and that they're going to be out of that they're not going to win the league. If they don't, I think that's a disaster decision. I think someone is going to have to get fired. Someone big has to get fired for this. I want to move.
Sorry, Mo, even with the Bayern game as well. I mean, I know, Sam, I think you said you were at the game. If it wasn't for Jan Sommer, 3-0 was like being very, very nice to Bayern. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, you are. Personally, I think it could have been 3-0 at half time in terms of the clear chances that we created throughout the game. Jan Sommer, was made a few brilliant saves. The defensively, they definitely were not all there. Like I said, they were always going to be a threat with the players they have on the pitch and the talent in the squad and the forward line. But defensively, players like Upamecano and even Davis at left back, Bernardo Silva just absolutely just destroyed him with, obviously just using his physicality against him almost. It was, if on another day, it could have been 6 or 7, which is quite remarkable in a game and between two sides which are perceived to be so close before the game.
No, 100%. I want to move to another game. Today's game, Milan Napoli. What a game! No Osimhen. Osimhen less Napoli today. Still created a lot of chances. However, without Osimhen, I think they lack cutting edge. This is my opinion, to be honest. And Milan were good. Mike Maignan is half a team by himself. It's as simple as that. He's literally half a team by himself. You look at this man of the match performance from Mike Maignan. This is a top-notch goalkeeper. Absolutely phenomenal guy. They created a lot of chances in Napoli in the beginning of the game, but they didn't score. And the red card to Zambonguisa, I think, is going to affect him the second leg. But did Milan miss a chance here to go 2-0 up or 3-0 with 25 minutes of football played after Nguisa got the red card?
Yeah, I think so. I think, honestly, after the red card, Napoli actually created some chances as well. So it was kind of made even. Spalletti made the good subs to bring on the fresh luggage right away. Kind of ran out. But I do agree with you because Osimhen will be back next week most likely. And like Mo, you said, no Osimhen, no party because they lack that focal point. No disrespect to Raspadori, who's a good player in himself, but he's just not Osimhen. Simeone also wasn't available due to injury, so he's a bigger focal point than me. Elmas played, not even Raspadori. Elmas false line, that's even worse. No disrespect. Elmas a good player, he's just not a striker. I just don't know. It just looked good. Maradona got locked up. Mike Maignan, this guy, other than Alisson, might be the second best goalkeeper in the world. And he might be the most important goalkeeper in the world because his backup is Tata Rusano and he's horrific in himself.
Why is he the second best goalkeeper in the world?
I think Alisson's better. Personally.
Why?
Goals prevented is huge for Alisson.
I just think Alisson. It's just Alisson. There's something about Alisson. He's just better.
His girlfriend's probably named Alisson.
I think actually Mike Maignan has better ball distribution.
That's fair to say. I mean, I don't think it's that much of a difference. I just prefer Alisson. It's like it's a 1A, 1B kind of thing. But I would love Mike Maignan in my club. I would pay 100 mil for him right now, as soon as possible. Right now, I would pay that money for that kind of guy. But with Napoli, the worst thing for them is they found their bogey team at the worst time of the season because I think that 4-0 loss 10 days ago played a huge factor into this psychologically. And I think Milan have the edge over them in that aspect, which is obviously not what you want in a knockout tie. And their heads were gone. Kim's head was gone, and he's obviously suspended for the next leg, even though I don't think that was a yellow. That was very harsh by the referee. Don't think that should have been a yellow card. And Grisha should have gotten sent off. That was a red card challenge. And they just lack cutting edge. But Milan were good. Brahim Diaz was phenomenal. He was phenomenal in the game 10 days ago as well. So he looked like a player that steps up in that big game. Milan, they needed someone in the attack other than Leao to step up in these big games. And Brahim Diaz looks like he's the one that's taking that step forward. So that's good for them. Benacer, good finish. And I'd slightly lean Milan to go to the next round only because and Guisa not being there and Kim and Jae not being there is 2 big losses. And I think that those 2 losses negate the return of Osimhen. But I favor Milan, but I also wouldn't be surprised because Osimhen's just his threat is that might be a goal in itself. Just his movement, his presence might be in a goal and help his other fellow attackers like Kvaratskhelia, who needs Osimhen in my opinion.
Yeah. Kvaratskhelia was not bad at all this game. He wasn't. He tried he was isolated and he tried to dribble 2, 3, 4 guys. I'm not sure. Sani, how did you see this game? If you watched this game, how do you see this tie? Do you still think Napoli are favorites to go through?
I don't think so. I mean, before this week started, and this was around the time when Milan won 4-0 at their place. Granted, Napoli were missing key players like Osimhen, but I just have a feeling Milan were going to do Napoli. Something about the experience in terms of the name that Milan have. And I know Napoli, a lot of these players haven't been in this situation before, other than like maybe Giroud. But the thing is, it's AC Milan. They have UCL heritage. I know people say, it's not really a thing, but a team like Napoli, and even you've mentioned it before, Mo, on a previous stream, about how Napoli see Milan as the big brother, per se. And I think that game 10 days ago, I think it was, where Milan had that 4-2-3-1, which is what they played in this game, showed Napoli that, listen, this is a serious team that is playing at the moment. And that was shown today. I mean, yes, Napoli did have chances, especially in that first minute. I think Kvaratskhelia nearly scored in the first minute, which was crazy if it wasn't for that clearance, right? So they were good, Napoli. No denying that. But I think Milan there was just something about it. Playing at the San Siro, the atmosphere, what happened 10 days ago, it all kind of just amalgamated into one cacophony, and it was just too much for Napoli to handle. But they're going to the Diego Armando Stadium now. It's not going to be easy there. Not many teams. I think they've only lost twice at home in all competitions all season, which is crazy. But I think Milan, I've just got a feeling they're going to do it again. And it depends what they play next week. Do they play 3 at the back if Osimhen's fit Osimhen's return, and they bring the likes of Kalulu and obviously Tomori, as well as I can't remember his other name.
Tiao,
yeah. If they play 3 at the back, or did they just stick with the 4? Because Kaye, I thought, had a good game today. He nearly scored as well when he hit the bar. But I don't know. It all depends on what formation they play. If they play 4 at the back, I fancy them to do it. If they go back to the 3, I think Napoli will do it.
Sam, I'm not sure if you watched the game or not, but the Napoli is the team that every Man City fan is talking about. We don't want to face Napoli. We don't want to face Napoli. They're not as strong as we guys think, especially in Europe. Yes, they play good football and stuff, but I'm not sure if you would want to face them. You wouldn't want to face one of the Milan clubs, because one of the Milan clubs will have a little bit of experience, the stadium, stuff like this. How do you see this Napoli team? And do you see them one of the teams that can win the competition if they go through against Milan in the second leg?
I think this is definitely the most finely balanced tie now going into the next leg of all of them. I think there's a combination of a few things. I think Milan obviously have got that lead. Napoli missing a couple of really key players going into the next leg now with Anguissa and Kim both out. Osimhen, I'm not entirely sure what his injury or his fitness status would be, or whether he'll be back or not. Obviously, that'd be a huge difference for them. I don't know if this Napoli side are just a little bit kind of running out of steam / maybe slightly naive at this stage in the competition. This is their first quarter-final. I think losing now twice to Milan is quite a psychological blow. Two big games that they've both now lost. And I think it's hard when you've been playing so well the whole season, the lead they built up in Serie A, to maintain that level throughout the whole season is really difficult. And I'm not going to lie and say I've been studying their league form closely, because I haven't, but it does feel like there is a slight kind of dip, kind of inevitably, from the standards they were setting at the start of the season. That being said, Kvaratskhelia is one of my favourite players, if not my favourite player to watch in the European leagues right now. And if he just decides to turn up in Naples next week, then they'll probably go through. He's that good. He should have absolutely scored in the first minute. The first 20 minutes was just a Napoli shooting range from all areas and all distances that Manu was pulling off save after save. So yeah, they did pepper them from the bit that I watched. But yes, the fact that it's an all Italian tie makes it complicated as well. I think City have found it before against Liverpool and Spurs and Chelsea. You could be the best team in that country at that particular point in the league, but there's something different and just an added complication when you're playing someone from the same country in a Champions League tie. almost becomes an automatic leveler. And I think we've seen that already in the first leg.
Yeah, 100%. I'm watching this and I think I knew that Napoli will struggle against Italian teams because in the Champions League it's different than the league. It's the same as exactly what you said. Like Man City playing Chelsea in the league is totally different than Man City playing Chelsea in the Champions League, or Liverpool or Spurs or any team, or Man United probably in the Champions League or a European competition. It's just so different playing in Europe than playing in your league. I'm not sure this Milan team has experience, so, and they have Leao and they have that Theo Hernandez and Leao. I think this is one of the deadliest sides in world football at the moment. I don't see a left back and a winger that explosive. It's unbelievable watching Theo Hernandez run with the ball. I don't like the guy because he's a rival to me, and he rattles everybody. He's the one who got Nguisa sent off. I don't think it was fair. Nguisa should not have gotten that first yellow. It's not a yellow card. And the second one, it could have been anything but 2 fouls, 2 yellow cards, and because he falls on the ground, rolls and stuff, he got the 2 yellows. But anyway, Theo Hernandez is a brilliant player with the ball, to be honest. Last clash in that Champions League was Inter Benfica. Nobody saw that coming. Ain't nobody in the world, not even myself being
not
an
even
Inter
you,
fan.
Mo.
Not even me. Like, I absolutely did not see that coming. 2-0 away at the Stadium of Light in Benfica. It's kind of strange. Lisbon and Inter fans. I'm not sure if any of you watched it. I'm sure that Sani, you watched both. I'm assuming. Or you had the highlights. I know that Sam watched. Of course, he was in the stadium with Man City, but some of the players at Inter stepped up again in a cup competition. Again, in the cup competition. With shit performance in the league. Really, really bad in the league. One of the worst, I think, since 2000. I think, since 2017. One of the worst runs since 2017. But then in the Champions League against Benfica, who everybody was tipping to play Napoli in the semifinal, they just win 2-0. My view of the game is that Inter played exactly how I expected them to play, and just Benfica weren't at the game. Some of the players in Benfica, João Mario, Rafa Silva, they weren't at the game at all. They didn't arrive, and it was just very strange, to be honest. Asani, how do you see this game? How do you see this time, which is very strange, because I think it's over. 2-0 away, it's over.
I agree with you. I think the best case scenario, I think, for Inter going into this game, and even you were saying this is maybe like a 0-0 if they could get a draw 1-1. I think they win 2-0 is unbelievable. And I'm surprised because the thing is, Inter Milan do have a pragmatic approach. And I even said this in a preview I'd done. I said, I feel like Inter could get something to this game. And what I meant by that is maybe a goal. I thought Benfica were going to win this game 2-1, but to think that Inter went there and won 2-0 against a side that's very, very hot is crazy. But this is what it's all about. Being pragmatic in these tournaments works. And obviously, Ty's mentioned Barella, for example, as a player, and I'd love him at Man United. I think he's an absolute fantastic player. And I mean, I know we're not going to talk about Jude Bellingham, but for someone that's going to potentially cost £135 million for Liverpool, I don't know why Liverpool aren't looking at someone like Barella, who's a very good player. And Bastoni as well. Mo, I mean, Bastoni's one of the best young centre-backs in the world. Like, he's so good. And he put a performance in as well. Gonzalo Ramos barely had a sniff, if we're being honest. And Onana as well, great keeper. And another clean sheet as well for Inter Milan, which is crazy because you're talking about one of the worst runs Inter went on. For people listening in, Inter haven't actually won a game since the start of March. I think it was 6th of March, Mo, you last won a game against Lecce or something, which is crazy to think that you haven't won a game in that long. And you went to the Stadium of Light. Benfica have only lost one game at home all season in all competitions, albeit it was on the weekend against Porto, which I don't think has helped their morale going into this game. But I think they only lost one game at home all season, and they just lost 2-0 at home is crazy. And you just have to give a shout out to Inzaghi. I know he's under a lot of pressure at the moment, but 2-0 away, massive performance for Inter, and shout out to Inter Milan.
Has anybody seen the penalty, the call, Michael or Sam? Have you guys seen that call, the penalty call?
Yeah,
the handball. Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I think it was
really harsh.
Someone said yes, and someone said it was harsh. So can you elaborate? Because I know that explanation, to be honest, but go ahead.
I thought, to be honest, the rules seem to change every season, every month, so it's hard to keep track. But I thought that if it hits another body part and then bounces up onto the arm, that there was more of a leniency with that, because I think did it hit his knee or his head and then go onto his arm?
His head.
Head.
Yeah, there's just a number of things really. How close it was, obviously hitting his head, then his arm being up, but not in a totally a natural position for someone jumping. Yeah, if that was given against City, I'd be absolutely livid.
Yeah, Michael, why do you think it was a penalty?
I don't think his hand wasn't in a natural position. So the way he like stuck his arm out, it just made it easier for the ball to hit his arm, which for me is a penalty. To be honest.
Yeah. So about that penalty, let me tell you the explanation. It was called against Laporte against City, I think last season. It's the same. He heads it into his hand, and the rule says that if it's a deflection from your body to your hand, it's not a penalty. It's not a handball. However, if your hand is above your shoulder, it's a penalty even if it's deflected. And that's why they called it. If his hand was right next to him or even outside his body and it was deflected from his body to his hand, it's not a penalty. But because his hand was above his head and above his shoulder, they had to call it. That's why he looked at it, because he wanted to make sure the hand is up there and it hits the hand and it's a penalty. I disagree with it. I don't like it because I think any deflection from the body should not be because you cannot control your body when the ball is deflected off your body. But that's the law. It was called against City, in the Real Madrid game last year. Laporte, the same. He heads it to his hand and then his hands were up there and they called it. So for me, I didn't see it in real time. They saw it, they reviewed it, and it's a penalty. But Inter should have been actually 2-3-0, to be honest.
Yeah.
That last chance, Mike Maignan, one of the most underrated goalkeepers in the world at the moment. Onana. Onana has the best save ratio in the Champions League in all the goalkeepers at the moment. Inter go to the final, maybe. I don't know. I actually don't know if we're gonna go to the final or not. I support Inter, of course, but I'm not sure. I still doubt that we can be either Milan or Napoli, just because we are in a worse run than them. They are. I'm not sure, but Inter, Lukaku firing Lukaku firing that penalty, to be honest, and doing the same celebration that he did and against Juventus and not get a yellow card was a big point in that game as well. I don't know where Inter go from here, but again, I don't know. But
I think there's one key thing though for you, Mo, as well, and this is the Serie A top 4 race currently going on. It's very interesting because we know Napoli are going to finish first. Lazio are currently second with 58 points. Roma on 53, and I think then it's Milan 52, Inter are fifth 51. Then I think there's a gap to Atalanta at 49 or 48. So there's a chance that one of the Milan clubs might not even finish in the Champions League places this season. So if, let's say, Inter finish fifth, they're going to be going gung-ho in the Champions League now. So that's one thing that definitely needs to be factored in going into this Champions League, because if it's a case that one of these sides needs to win the Champions League in order to make the Champions League for next season, then it might be an added thing. And just a quick thing as well with Benfica before we move on. You know, for ages, there's been that curse. Was it the Bela Gutmann curse? How in 1962, they didn't win the European... Well, I think he wanted a pay rise. And then since then, he was like, Benfica aren't going to win the European Cup for, 100 years or something? I know they won the Youth League last year. But to think that that's another chance for them, people thinking, they're going to make the semi-finals, etc. And they lost it. Well, I know they've still got the second leg, but more than likely, I don't think they're going to make it. To think that's another opportunity gone is crazy, because this curse, it's almost like the Babe Ruth curse almost. For
it's legit. That thing's legit, because Benfica yesterday didn't show up to play. They were just abysmal.
No, it's crazy.
Every single player on that pitch. And Gonçalo Ramos, who people know me, I rate him really highly. He's on one of my targets list. That last kick, that goal could have changed everything, because 2-1, yes, it's a loss at home, but at least you have that one goal. It's only one goal deficit, and maybe they could do something at San Siro, but the last kick of the game, you got to bag that. No matter, even though Onana's a great goalkeeper, and funnily enough, Onana's probably the most experienced in terms of Champions League in that squad, because he made the semifinal with Ajax, so he's been here before, and it was a great save. And that goal, he was fantastic against Porto, good against Benfica. He must love playing against Portuguese opposition. Fair enough to him. And I just think Inter, phenomenal. Barella, he is linked with Liverpool. Sani, by the way, fair enough. They are linked with him very heavy.
He's too expensive. Barella is too expensive for Liverpool. If they're not going to put 135 million for Bellingham, they're not going to go and spend 90 million for Barella or 80 million for Barella, because Bastoni is priced at 65. So that's a defender. So you're not going to price your top midfielder less than 80 or something. I don't think they're gonna go for Barella. It's too much for them. They're gonna go.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I'm sure they'll scout him. They'll look at him as one of
they
the
will
options.
try.
Good players though at Inter. Some very good players.
We have some really good. Inter have really good players. It's just the problem is they're not firing. I still want Inzaghi fired. This is just my opinion.
Even if he got you to the final.
Even if he gets to the final, if he doesn't win the Champions League, I want him fired. It doesn't matter what anybody says because we have an easy route. I'm looking at this now, and I think Inter should go to the final. Reports are wrong that Barella at 50 million. It's absolutely wrong. It's a wrong. They were denied. Sam, last thing about this Inter Milan thing, San Siro. What do you think about a semi-final of a Derby della Madonnina semi-final repeat of the 2003? I don't know if anyone of you watched that or not.
Fireworks.
I just remember the picture.
Rui Costa and Materazzi.
Yeah, that's just like.
Yeah, I remember the photos. I can't say I remember the game very well. I think I was about 9, so probably couldn't take it in tactically back then. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Obviously, it's not the two peak Inter or AC Milan teams of the last sort of 20-25 years or so, but I just think for the whole, I think the game would be super intense. I think it would be a great watch across both legs, and yeah, I'd love to see it. I'm hoping that both teams do get through because I would love to see that game. I think with the rivalry and just being a local derby in a Champions League semi-final, just the whole intensity it would bring around the tie, the way it would consume the whole of Italy pretty much during those 2 legs, it'd be brilliant. And I think it's quite rare that these kind of scenarios play out and the draws kind of come together and these scenarios happen. I remember Barca Real Madrid a few years ago, that being an unbelievable 2-legged semi-final, but really it's very difficult to think of kind of major rivalries. Don't think United or Liverpool have ever played in a Champions League semi-final to my memory or anything like that in England really. But yeah, those two, the 2 Milan teams in a semi-final of the Champions League would be pretty special, I think.
Yeah, last thing I want to talk about is the Europa League, since this is Eurostars. Europa League tomorrow, it's Juventus Sporting, Man United play Sevilla. They are favorites. I'm not sure. Can someone tell me who's actually favorites to win this competition? Because in my books, I think Juventus are favorites, then Man United, then Roma,
in terms of like bookies, it's probably us because we're the biggest club left in the competition. But I don't think we're favorites. If Rashford's injured, we're not favorites or nothing. Let's just put it that way.
Are Man United bigger than Juventus?
Yes.
Based on trophies, for example, or
trophies, fan base.
Trophies, of course. Yeah. So trophies, of course, Man United are not bigger than Juventus.
All right, bro. Juventus won more
League 33, 31.
I forgot about that. Okay, have a look. All right, but just in terms of, all right, last
fan base.
Yeah, fan base. Yeah, I think less. I think we're bigger.
But who's favorite in your book? Forget the bookies. Who's favorite.
If I had to choose someone, I'd probably say Roma, just because of Jose Mourinho. Like, I know Juventus are Juventus, but this is Jose Mourinho we're talking about. I know you won the Conference League last year. You just got a knack in knockout football. You just gets the job done. He's got a favourable draw as well. I know Feyenoord are doing all right in the Dutch league, but I think you'll get past Feyenoord. And then after that, I think it's either Union, SC, Berlin, and I can't remember the other side left in the competition. But
Leverkusen.
Yeah,
hey, Xabi Alonso's cooking something over there. He's cooking something.
I don't know, man. Like I just think Roma have got a pretty good chance of getting through that side. And then as for us, like I'm going to the game tomorrow, so it'll be an interesting game. And I know Sevilla have been a relegation fight this season, but they're the kings of that competition. They just always turn up, and we've never actually beaten Sevilla as well, which is something that I never knew. So it's going to be an interesting game, and then after that, if we do somehow get through Sevilla,
Man United play at home first. Is that
correct? We play at home first in the second leg.
Wrap it up.
We need to wrap it up this game, but like Mike said, Rashford's not playing, so he's a key reason why we get a lot of goals this season. So can't really rely on Weghorst. I mean, I'm saying that. Imagine Weghorst scores tomorrow. But if we do get through that, then Sporting are a pretty decent side as well. And then Juve, you can never write them off of 2 legs. So, in the words of Castillo, it's not looking good, Brev, because it's going to be a very, very hard Europa League.
Yeah. Sam,
I expect to win it, though, to be honest. I expect to win the Europa League just because I expect my team. I like the squad. We have the best coach left in the competition in Erik ten Hag, so I expect to win it. But I am scared of a couple teams. I am scared of Juve. Mostly, I'm not scared of Roma.
Did you just say the best coach in the Europa League left? So Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
Did you just say that? You really?
He's better than Jose Mourinho. I think Erik ten Hag in 2023 he is. In 2023 he is. I don't think, obviously, overall, historically wise, there's not even a competition between Ten Hag, Allegri, and Jose. That's Jose and Allegri 1-2. But in 2023, I trust Ten Hag over Jose and Allegri personally.
I love Mike.
Hey, Ten Hag beat Allegri before in Europe, by the way. He did it with Ajax over Juve. Don't forget that.
No, that's not okay. Sam, do you see Man United going through this last patch? This is the last thing. Be without Marcus Rashford, who's injured. Is out for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
I think he'll miss.
I think he might miss. Well, they're quite vague and cryptic in there.
He's getting rushed back. He's getting rushed back. It's so obvious.
He's out tomorrow. Obviously. I think obviously Sevilla have got some, weird connection with this competition as well. It's hard to say because a lot of these teams, they're kind of in the Europa League for a reason. Really, they've got a lot of flaws and also a lot of quality as well. All got holes in that you could kind of pick. I think if United can get the momentum back that they had a few weeks ago, where they've got Casemiro back, and they've got Varane and Martinez settled, and they've got Rashford firing, that spine could carry them to win the competition with what's left. But I think there's some good teams left, but there's no great teams left.
Yeah. You have Juventus, Roma, and Man United. These are some great teams, to be honest.
Great clubs, but not great teams right now.
Not at the moment. But anyway, guys, we've done an hour, and it has been a great couple of days of football. Hopefully tomorrow will be great as well. We'll enjoy 2 sets of games tomorrow in the Europa League. I want to thank all the panels. I want to thank myself first for being here. But I want to thank Sani, of course, Mike, and Sam for being here. Thank you. Great debut, Sam, for you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm not sure football Khanage tomorrow with Grizz, of course. I think so, before the top 6 or something. But people, thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much for being here with us. Any last words from any of these beautiful panel? Nobody.
Adios amigos, because we got Sevilla, Spain tomorrow. So yeah,
100%. Guys, make sure to hit that like button on your way out. We really appreciate you, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Thank you. See you guys.